Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. If you're planning on traveling to the Philippines, this is the perfect time to travel. Springtime, summertime, no typhoon, perfect timing to travel to the Philippines. I'd like to share some things to keep in mind before or when traveling to the Philippines. So I have 10 things on my list. I'll start with the most important ones. So the first one is to always plan ahead and get to know your destination. While much of the Philippines is safe for travelers, there are certain areas where I would personally avoid. Now, this is my personal opinion, but I would avoid some parts of Mindanao. Now, I say some because Mindanao is very big and there's a lot of safe places in Mindanao you can visit. For example, Siargao is a very beautiful island known for its surfing destination. And a lot of backpackers go there, both Filipinos and foreigners, because it's still much cheaper than other areas in touristy areas in the Philippines. Not only for visiting, but there's actually a lot of foreigners who live in Siargao. Very beautiful island, very safe to visit. If you are into cities, for example, Davao City is very developed, also very safe. Now, those are some of the places that you can safely visit, but there's also some places in Mindanao where I would personally advise you to not visit as a foreigner. These places are specifically Zamboanga Peninsula, Basilan, and the Sulu regions. These are considered no-go zones due to high levels of danger, including incidents of violence, clashes with security forces, and kidnappings by terrorist groups. Always exercise caution and stay away from these regions to ensure your safety. Now, let's say you really have to visit because you're talking to a Filipina, she's from there, you want to meet her family, the relatives. I think it's okay to do that, especially if you're not staying too long, Visit for a couple of days, meet the entire family, get to know them a little bit. But again, this is personal advice. I would not stay too long, The goal is to not draw too much attention to yourself. Visit a couple of days and then fly back to Cebu, which is a very safe place to visit in the Philippines. All right, let's move on to the next thing on my list. So the next thing is to be aware of scams. Unfortunately, the Philippines is known to be one of those countries with a lot of scammers. It's sad to say that, but this is true. Who's gonna deny this? It happens all the time. As soon as you step foot on that airport, NAIA is very bad, known for a lot of scamming. Now, during the Duterte administration, some of that disappeared. But apparently it's back in full force. And some of these scammers work for the government, work in the airport. So that's very sad. And I have even been scammed. A lot of overseas Filipino workers have been scammed by other Filipinos. So it's very sad. It's not just the airport. Again, as soon as you step foot on the airport, be aware. There's a lot of scammers there. There's a lot of taxi drivers who are also scammers. Now, I'm not saying all, okay, but I've met some good ones, but there are scammers who are taxi drivers, some jeepney drivers, everywhere. If you are visiting the metropolitan areas of the country, you're going to have to be really careful because a lot of people will take advantage of you because you are a foreigner. Truth. Okay, number 3 on my list is avoid, because of that, the scammers, the thieves, there's going to be a lot of thieves. Avoid wearing jewelries or anything valuable. Again, the goal here is to not draw attention to yourself. So if you have some expensive jewelries, watches, earrings with some sparkly diamonds on it, don't wear that. Especially if you're, cruising in the city, visiting places that are very crowded. Avoid wearing anything that would draw attention to yourself, okay? Actually, dress down. That is my advice, all right? Next one, the food hygiene is also very important. Now, I've talked about carinderias in one of my videos, and there were some comments in there, interesting comments. And one thing that I would have advised if this is your first time traveling to the Philippines is to be cautious of street food because food poisoning is very common. Now, some Filipinos would say things like, oh, you're so maarty. This is like a term for someone who's very picky. Now, this is not really about being picky. The reality is, if you're not used, your system as a foreigner, you grew up in the West, let's say you grew up in the US, your system's not used to that kind of, the food is just exposed in the elements, there's not really a lot of refrigeration, there's a lack of hygiene, you're gonna get sick. It is what it is. and food poisoning. Even I have been food poisoning, and my system's used to that. So I mean, just be very mindful of that, because most places in the Philippines are not regulated by the health department, especially street food. Now, if you're going to places like Jollibee, McDonald's, that's a different story. You're completely fine with those places. But places that you see on the street, usually, of course, like half the price of what you will pay if you go to an actual restaurant. I mean, yeah, you get what you pay for sometimes, which is food poisoning. One thing I would like to add is the drinking water. If this is tap water or water that's in a bottle that's sold in the street, I would just not buy those. I would avoid it because it's not very safe. It's not safe for a foreigner, to be very honest. My husband got sick when he did that. So we started just making sure that when we got water, go to 7-Eleven or to a very reputable, like, I'm gonna put some names of places you can actually go for groceries. I mean, if it's a grocery store and they have a water bottle there, that's safe. But, children, there's a lot of children selling bottled water in the streets. I would not, you can buy it, but to drink it, I would not drink it because that's not very safe. No, you're not being picky. It's just that your system not used to that. All right, let's move on to the next one. Be cautious when it comes to fresh water environments to minimize the risk of infection. Avoid swimming in fresh water such as lakes, rivers, if you have a scratch or a wound, especially an open wound. And you shouldn't be swimming in any body of water in the Philippines if you have an open wound. You don't want to catch an infection. I remember this happening to one of our missionaries. Just a small little scratch ended up getting really infected. He went to some river and went swimming. So always make sure that if you really have to, you can't help it, you want to experience how it's like, you're visiting some nice touristy area, at least bandage it really well. And then when you get home, really, if it was up to me, I wouldn't do it just because the risk of infection is high in some areas. All right. Okay. Number 6, because of that, always wear footwear. That matters, okay? Always wear shoes, sandals, or flip-flops to avoid injuries and infections. Now, especially in areas where it's not really like, this is not like developed. Let's say you're going to like a local beach that's open for everybody. Sometimes drunk people go drinking there and then they might leave their trash, broken glasses. You could step on that. You could step on that and then get yourself injured, So always wear something. If you can wear shoes, now it's kind of weird to be wearing shoes in the beach. So I guess just wear like sandals, chinelas is what we call it, okay? Always wear something to protect your feet. And if you're going like hiking, if you like hiking, also don't go barefooted. My husband experienced this. He wasn't even barefooted. We went to we went for a short walk to look at a nice scenery. We were on a kind of a mountainside to look at a rice terraces type of view. And then he was wearing chinelas and he stepped on a poop. And yeah, that was very bad experience. He did not like that, but so if you're barefooted, you could step onto anything, surprise. So always wear something to protect your feet. All right, number 7, the transportation and getting around. Now, if you really want to experience the culture, I always encourage foreigners to ride in a jeepney. That's a very good experience. Tricycle also, but my advice is to please, no matter how excited you get, don't drive. I've heard of some foreigners that try to drive, especially in the provinces. Now in the city, you're gonna get caught and you're gonna get in trouble. But in the provinces, they think, oh, it's okay, I can just try drive, the motorcycle or the tricycle. Don't do it. And even if this is a very remote area, I would still advise for you to not drive because you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. Let's say you get into a minor accident and someone get a minor injury. If this was just Filipinos getting into some sort of collision and minor accident, people might just let it go. But the fact that you are a foreigner, you're gonna get asked for compensation, to be very honest. So protect your body and protect your pocket, okay? Because this happened to one of our missionaries. He got into an accident and actually he's got a license and everything. So if you think he was fine, he can actually do that. But he got into an accident, and I'm saying this because if that kind of accident happened between Filipinos, it would be something that's probably let go. But since he was a foreigner, they asked him for a lot of money for compensation because some people got hurt. So yes, always protect yourself, not just your body, but your pockets, okay? All right, next one. This one is kind of fun in a way. The bathrooms, all right? Not all bathrooms in the Philippines are created equal. Now, if you are in places, high-end places like the BGC, for example, there's no need to worry about the bathrooms because these bathrooms are usually stocked with more basic amenities, probably even better than the amenities you find here in the US. A lot of bidets, that's very popular in those high-end places in the Philippines. And so nothing to worry about the bathrooms. Now, if you're in the provinces, it may not be it might be a very different story because some of these bathrooms are lacking the conveniences you might be used to. Some of these bathrooms may not have flushers, so you're gonna have to kind of flush it yourself. You're gonna be provided with something like, a bucket of water, soap, and a tabo. So you're gonna have to wash yourself because a lot of these places, most of these places don't have toilet paper. So bring your own toilet papers when you travel, or you're just gonna have to wash yourself with soap and water. You're gonna be given like a tabo, like a bucket and this tabo. I don't know what a picture. I don't know. I'm gonna try to put a picture on the screen, but that's how Filipinos usually clean themselves when they do a number two. All right, I just want to add, I remember this. If you're traveling in the provinces and you tend to use the bathroom a lot, I would advise for you to always have coins, some type of cash in hand, because some of these bathrooms, let's say you're traveling by bus, sometimes that bus may stop in a bus stop that's not really owned by that terminal. It's just some random eatery, and they have a bathroom there. A lot of the times they would have like a person manning that bathroom to make sure that no random people are using it. It's only for customers, and that person's not really paid by the establishment, so you kind of have to pay that person if you want to use the bathroom. So back in the day, it was like 5 pesos per person, so you may want to make sure you have a 10 pesos in hand if you're going to use that like public bathrooms, because that person's not paid by the establishment, so they're getting extra cash by maintaining the bathroom. All right, I just want to add that there. All right, so the next one, and this is very important for those who take medications. Bring your medication with you and make sure that you also bring your script or prescriptions. If you're traveling to the provinces, you might find it hard to find specific medications, so if you're taking one or need to take one, make sure you are covered for the rest of your trip. Also, don't forget to bring your own cosmetics, especially lotions such as SPF. Bring your own, because a lot of this, I noticed that a lot of this SPF, especially the one that you apply for whole body, it's very expensive in the Philippines, and it's hard to find, especially in the provinces. So bring your own. And if you're white, definitely, if you have very fair skin, I should say, definitely bring SPF, because if you're planning to go to the beach the whole day, you're gonna get sunburned. Okay, last on my list is very important. This is when it comes to dealing with Filipinos. Now, Filipinos are very friendly people, known for their hospitality, but always be cautious of people who has hidden motives. Some people use that friendliness to lure in foreigners. Some of the intentions may be harmless, depending on your situation, but always assess the situation. As I mentioned, Filipinos are very friendly, and they will go above and beyond to make sure that you feel welcomed. Especially if this is your first time traveling to the Philippines, you mention that to them, they will do whatever it takes to make sure that you want to come back. Filipinos really are very welcoming, very warm people in general. Now, not everybody who's nice and who is nice to you has good intentions. That's just the reality. You're going to have to learn how to discern and to assess the situation. Now, let me give you a little bit of a story. And as I mentioned, some of this kindness may be harmless, at least to their point of view, but again, you're going to have to learn how to assess the situation you're in. When my husband visited the Philippines, on his way there on a plane, he met a Filipino. This Filipino was also lived here in the US, but he's visiting his family in the Philippines. So they sat right next to each other. So they were like seatmates, I guess. So they were talking, introduced themselves, and they became really friendly. And this man was really friendly to him. Back then he was like early 20s visiting the Philippines. And this guy was like, you should really meet my family. Like I would like to, to invite you to come visit my family. Now, if you, as a foreigner, you might think, well, that's kind of weird. He's never met your husband. That's like the first time. my fiance then, that's the first time they met, and he's like inviting my husband now to like meet his family. And he mentioned that if you come visit the family, spend time with us, I'd like to introduce you to my niece. She's like 18 and I think she would like you. And my husband now, my fiance then was like, well, I'm visiting the country because I'm going to propose to this girl that I've been talking to for a while. So I can't do that. I'm not here to meet anyone. I'm here to meet a specific person. But he was like really insisting, oh, that's okay. You can still do that. You can do, meet your girl, but you can also visit us and, meet my niece. So he was super nice to my husband, very, very like, welcoming. But his intention was like, I'm going to introduce you to my niece, And to the point where my husband just like, he started kind of like feeling aggravated because he keeps mentioning over and over again like, I can't do that because again I'm going to the Philippines to meet my fiance, not to like meet another girl. But this guy was like, it's okay, you know what, bring her with you, we still want you to meet our niece. And I was like, wow, that's very blatant. Like, he must really like you to make you like a son-in-law right then and there. But he was like, that was just kind of rude because he was like, well, I'm meeting another Filipina. This is like, my fiance, the woman I want to marry. But this guy was like, okay, that's fine. Bring her with you. So yes, he might be very nice, but his intentions were not, he's got other intentions. That's what I'm saying. So this intention may be harmless. Now, if you're visiting the country, you meet someone like that on your way there and you happen to be single, very single, then that's fine. But in the case of my husband, he thought it was kind of rude because he's mentioned over and over again, I'm already engaged to someone, but this person's like insisting like, it's okay, you can still come by, bring her with you. So that's the story. All right, those are the things that I'd like to share, that I wanted to share if you are planning on visiting the Philippines. So for those of you who are planning to visit the Philippines, I wish you the best. Be safe out there, have fun, because you know what they say, it's more fun in the Philippines. All right, I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye everyone.